It's John Franklin, Isaac, and Children of the Corn, and you're listening to the Timo and Harley Show.
Welcome to the Timo and Harley Show.
Thank you for listening to the Timo and Harley Show. I am Timo. Over there's my partner in mind crime, Mr. Ben Harley. Say hello, Harley.
What is happening, people?
Ben the Headhunter Harley.
That's me, Kentucky Headhunter.
Yeah.
Was that?
Why are you always menacing Gilligan's Island too?
Because it's easy to get to.
Yeah.
Not easy to get off of for some odd reason. Mm-hmm. But we always menacing that place.
Right. Did you ever wonder why they didn't island hop? I mean, because apparently, there were headhunters showing up in canoes.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah.
Have I told you about the fallacies of Gilligan's Island? I have a whole routine. I can't. Gilligan's Island, Harley, knowing me now as an adult.
Yes, sir.
All right, now think about this. Now think about a 9-year-old version of me watching Gilligan's Island. An inquisitive.
Yes.
So they're on a 3-hour tour total, right?
Yeah.
So they're not more than an hour and a half away from shore, correct?
Right, yes.
They have a professor who can keep a radio going for 7 years with a coconut, but they can't fix a hole in a boat?
Yes, that's what Gilligan said. What was that in Back to the Beach movie? Oh, my God, I love that. He said, I was shipwrecked on an island with a guy who could, make a nuclear fusion reactor out of something like this, but he couldn't fix a 2-foot hole in a boat.
Right. And they were stranded and lost and nobody knew they were, except they had a Globetrotters basketball game that was broadcasted from the island, and they were still shipwrecked after that.
Still shipwrecked, yes.
Yeah.
Then poor Gilligan. He's all, you know what I mean? But what would we have done, Tim? They did get finally rescued, and that was a horrible version.
I know. I don't know what they were going to do, but whatever it was, it had to be done in the lagoon. That's all I know, because there was the lagoon.
I like that lagoon. That lagoon was nice. Yeah.
All right.
If we only had those things to think about Timo anymore, right? So that's all our worries were anymore about Gilligan.
What are you talking about? Speak for yourself. I'm still mired in this, you know?
That's right. Yeah.
I'm still pissed off that Dennis shot a lion. So I'm way behind the times here,
That's right. Yeah.
So, how was your week, Tim, Mr. Ben Harley? How you been?
It's been okay.
All right.
It's been okay. Yeah, the weekend was much better than the week, but that's
okay. All right. Yeah. No rogue golf carts or trips to the hospital or nothing. Okay.
No crashes on my one wheel. No.
Okay, that's very good. Yeah. So, no news is good news on the Timo and Harley Show, right?
Yeah. No, yes. I did hurt myself playing hockey though the other day. So
well, that doesn't count. So you're getting hurt playing.
New, right?
Yeah. That's like me getting hurt watching movies, which I did do this week. Did not get hurt watching them, but I did watch some. So I'm going to go through a couple as I do every week, Mr. Ben Harley.
Yes,
let's see here. From 1995. 1995, we watched this little movie that you might have heard of called Congo.
Oh, you watched Congo?
We watched Congo.
Oh, Congo.
Yes. What a frustrating movie, eh?
Yeah, I started trying to watch that not too long ago here. Yeah, recently. Within the last 2 months, I think it was. I didn't get through all of it though.
It's hard to get through.
I didn't. Yeah, kind of. I kind of liked it when it came out, though. But I think I do remember going back and watching it again and not liking it so much.
It's uneven. It's
a little bit.
It was directed by Frank Marshall. Now this might give you some kind of insight. Frank Marshall, big time producer, produced everything. I mean, huge Hollywood, big budget movies and everything. He only directed a few, and this is why. Another one of his movies he directed was Alive, where the plane crashes in the I think it was the Andes, and it was the
soccer team?
South American soccer team.
Yeah.
That gets caught up there, and there's a little bit of cannibalism going on. And the movie has a very strange personality. It's almost like a goofy feel-good. It's like, no, this movie, no. It's trying to be it's trying to be something that it shouldn't be. Like it's trying to be fun or something. I don't know what it is. I don't really know what it is. There's something wrong with it. Now, the best movie I think he did was Arachnophobia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did do that. I thought that was a good movie.
Right.
Yeah, he did that. But Congo is just, you remember when it came out, man, that was going to be a huge movie. That was a big deal. Yes. And it looked mysterious and it looked cool. I think you watched it and you're like, I don't know. Yeah. You know, like it just wasn't really, it promised you a lot and delivered a little.
Yeah, and it didn't deliver much till the end, really, kind of.
No, not at all. You're right.
You're right. And I'm telling you, those gorillas, though, were so scary looking, man. Like, just,
Oh, yeah.
Which I liked. Yeah, and I thought they were really, and it did have some menacing stuff. But now, wasn't it the, what's his name from Walking Tall?
Joe Don Baker. Joe Don Baker. Because they're looking for Bruce Campbell. Yeah, Bruce Campbell is
it's his son, isn't it?
It's his son, yeah.
Yeah, and he just, man, and well, I did like his character in it because you can tell he doesn't really care, and then once it's kind of proven, like, what a douche, man. Such a jackass, but it has a lot of good things. I think for me at the time, too, and I like Tim Curry. I'm a Tim Curry guy. I do. Mm-hmm. Now, he's not great in everything, and trust me, I know he's not.
Right.
But I even like Tim Curry in doing his voiceover stuff. But in this one, he had that really weird accent that just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted him to be like this smarmy, but I thought he could be like a Dr. Smith type smarmy in it a little bit more without having that really weird accent. Like, it didn't seem to sound.
No, I'm not a Tim Curry fan, so I've never understood the appeal of him. I don't get it. Like I don't think he's terrible. Yeah, no, I don't think he's terrible. He doesn't stand out to me any more than some of the other more unknown character. I don't. Sure. I guess got to be the Rocky Horror Picture Show thing. I guess because I'm not a fan of it. But anyway, we've all talked about this, but But Congo itself, man, it's frustratingly not entertaining. It's trying, I think, but it's trying either too hard or it's trying to be something it's just not ever going to be. But it is frustrating. It's definitely a frustrating movie, but seen a lot worse. And every now and then it's something to pull out to waste of time a little bit. And that's basically
I always think about that with those apes, though, and stuff. And I think about, with like a Sasquatch or whatever.
Oh, yeah, it's up our alley.
It's going to beat you on the head till your head's soft and mushy. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just going to beat on you. You're done. You're not, and that's what scares me about especially ones like in that movie that are so terrifying and violent, But I do remember kind of like, it's okay. And it's not one that I go back to. I think I've probably only seen it maybe twice.
Okay. I think I've seen it like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, actually. I haven't really ever, and I remember I'm almost positive by like 100% that I saw it in the theater. I'm pretty sure I did. And
trying to be too many things to too many people. And this was, I think, right in that mid-90s thing where, although a lot of the movies I liked a lot, the ones I think that were failures were the ones that seemed, I don't know this, I wasn't there, but they seemed to be based off too many demographic things. Like, how are we going to make everybody happy? How are we going to represent every kind of person and every type of moviegoer in one movie? And I think sometimes, for the most part, I think they got it wrong. It wasn't enough, and it was too much for other people. So I don't know. It's the same as it was when it came out. It's a middling film. It's just a movie that's not a middling film, Mr. Ben Harley, from 1976.
Ooh.
Watch the movie Network.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Network?
Yes, yeah. Uh-huh.
Are you mad as hell? You're not going to take it anymore?
Yeah, I'm mad as hell. Oh, I want you to open your window, Demo. And we'll just dig your head out. Yeah, man.
I got to tell you, when he does that speech, I was crying. And Angie was like, is this really getting to you? I was like, it's just such an acting performance that I'm actually emotional because it's so good. Peter Finch is so good in that movie. And a year later, he's dead. He died. He died. But I'm just saying, it was such a good movie. And I don't know, it's just a very poignant film. And it's got a timeless message, let's say.
Yes, yeah.
And a very prophetic movie and everything. But Peter Finch...
Tim, I want to do that every day. Stick my head out the window.
Right.
No, people are going to start throwing stuff at me after a while and telling me to shut up.
You can just walk down the street and people will throw shit at you these days until
exactly,
you shut up. So,
right. Yeah. I didn't say nothing. That's right.
So it was fun. That was just a great to sit down and watch that again. I haven't seen it for a little while, so that's cool.
Yeah.
From 1941.
Whoa, now you're talking.
Yes. We watched...
Now you're comforting.
Hey, I watch this movie every now and then, and I'm proud to say it, and I love this movie, and we watched it again. It is The Maltese Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
I love The Maltese Falcon. Directed by John Huston, starring Humphrey Bogart, Mary Astor, Peter Lorre, and old Sidney Greenstreet. This movie is the reason movies are made. This is pure entertainment. The problem is that you got to watch it 20 times, completely stone sober, and not blink to understand what the hell is going on in it.
Okay.
I told you, I've been watching this movie for decades, and I promise you I'm going to pay attention to the point where I get it this time. No, not really. No. I got too entertained and forgot what was happening.
Yeah, you got too caught up,
Well, Bogart's so funny in it. He just doesn't give a shit. He's just going through the movie like his shit don't stink. Nothing's going to stick to him.
Right.
It's kind of the way he acts through like the whole movie, and I just love it. I think it's great. What's also fun is Walter Houston makes this cameo I'd never noticed before. So there's a scene in Maltese Falcon where there's a knock at the door, and Bogart opens the door, and a guy has clearly been stabbed or shot, falls into the door holding the Falcon. It's Walter Houston.
Okay.
Just happens to be the star of the Treasure of Sierra Madre and other film classics, and then there were none and stuff. But it's John Huston's dad, so I guess for fun they did a little cameo.
That's awesome.
So, but man, what a fun movie, Harley! I
need to go back and watch that too. I've been, I need to go back and find some of these other gems that I haven't seen in a long time. Too. Now, Congo might not be one of them, but I think I might have to go back and finish that. But this stuff like this that, you bring up, Tim, I got to start writing them down because I just need to go back and see some of these other ones.
Right.
That we've been talking about. And mostly ones that are good, too.
Right. Yeah, well, that's why I keep things in a library format behind me. So I actually have to walk back. I had to walk back behind the couch and start going through them and just pick something out. But that's the benefit of having... 6 million shelves, behind me, with an overwhelming amount of entertainment sitting there. Speaking of that, Mr. Ben Harley, from 1985, we continued with our Friday the 13th Freak Out.
Nice, all right.
So we went to Friday the 13th 5, A New Beginning. I did not realize that this was directed by Danny Steinman, which that doesn't even mean much to me. But when I looked at Danny Steinman, I'm like, I know that name from somewhere. So I looked it up. He is the director of The Unseen from 1980, where Stephen Furst is the guy down the creepy guy down the basement. Yeah. Also directed Savage Streets with Linda Blair in it. I did not know that this guy directed these movies. So, I kind of feel sorry for this movie, like Halloween 3.
Yeah,
I do because they were trying something different. They were actually trying to twist it back to the original Giallo murder mystery type of movie.
Okay.
Here's a funny thing. This is Angio.
The ambulance driver.
Yes.
Tommy. Yeah.
Yes. Now, Angio did not know it wasn't Jason through the movie, so it tricked her.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
And I said, I looked at her. I was like, and she kept commenting on the film, and I was like, I'm not saying anything because I realized about a third of the way through that she didn't realize that this was not Jason. I even said before the movie, the last one was called The Final Chapter. So this one, why are we making this one? And it's clearly for money. The audience wanted more Friday the 13th. I get it.
Yeah.
But it really was almost trying to twist it back to that. I mean, look, Roy's motive is even very similar to Mrs. Voorhees.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like, and even as a kid, when they're zipping up what's left of his son there.
Right.
The chocolatey, what was his name?
I don't know. But he sure looked like Franklin from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was a Franklin character.
Yeah. Well, that, like when they're zipping him up, to take him away, I was like, something's up with this guy. He had the Bill Bixby look on his face.
Yeah.
Where you make me angry thing. And I was like, and I even knew back then as a kid, something's up with that cat, So it's really, it didn't really surprise me that much. I was a little disappointed actually when it happened.
Right.
This is a decent movie, but it's like one of my least favorite ones.
Well, it's mine too. Yeah, it's mine. Well, you know what though? I look at it now and then I think of Jason Takes Manhattan, and I think of other movies like that, and it's like, oof.
Yeah. Much more forgivable. Yes.
Oh yeah, well, thanks to movies after it makes this movie look a little better. Yes, but it did not make fans very happy, and they it was trying to revert it back to the original like murder mystery, and also sprinkle in a little Jamie Lloyd type of thing into it, where the kid who was menaced is going to transform into the killer. What's interesting is, in none of these franchises did this actually happen.
Right.
I find that interesting. They've left both franchises, Friday the 13th and Halloween, have multiple times left open the possibility of the child menaced by Michael or Jason to become the killer, and never happened.
Never did.
And I'd like to thank the franchises.
Yes.
For not doing that, because I think it would have made him suffer even worse than they did already.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's also, I think, the problem with Friday the 13th 5, A New Beginning, is that it's sandwiched in between two really good Friday the 13th movies.
Yes.
Which is part 4, which is very, very good, and part 6, which is a load of fun.
Jason Lives.
Jason Lives is the sixth one.
Sixth one, yep.
So you got to remember the final chapter, A New Beginning, and then Jason Lives.
Yeah, Jason Lives, I actually kind of think I liked.
That one was a lot of fun. That was one where Tommy Jarvis comes back and they start up a camp again, and there's all the little kids in the camp. It's one of the first movies where they actually have a summer camp where there's actually camp kids. There's actually kids there. Yeah,
yeah.
Well, that helped with the scare factor of the movie.
Yes, yeah. There's a real good scene of him in the cabins. That's really good. Yeah,
right. So
real tense.
Yes. So this is sort of the redheaded stepchild, if I can use that term, of the series, I think, and it seems to be, and I think people still consider it that way. But as a horror fan, I'm like, he went to space. I think that one's probably a bigger pimple than the one where the guy was dressing up like Jason.
I've never sat and watched that one.
It's actually
I don't think I ever will.
It's goofy. It is what it is. Yeah. But it's I don't know. As far as this one though, I do feel bad for it. I don't feel quite as bad as I did for Halloween 3. I think Halloween 3 was really trying to tell you it wasn't Michael Myers, and this one was not trying to tell you it wasn't Jason as much. I think it did confuse people, and I think that even Angie was sitting there watching it. I was surprised. Just as a seasoned horror fan, we're watching this, and she just went into it as a movie fan, just watching it, and she doesn't know the timeline of Friday the 13th like I know it, or you might know it, or something like that. So it just didn't dawn on her that we're watching this. This is the one we're watching. So that I found that very interesting, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it was.
This one's got a really weird, dreamy quality to it, doesn't it? Too, Tim?
A little bit. The thing that's weird is the crazy old lady and her kid.
Yeah,
and they look like they're like some feral people down in Arkansas. I'm sorry, doesn't this story take place in like New York State or New Jersey?
Yes,
it just does not scream the Northeast to me. I mean,
no,
I don't know. So that to me, I think really hurt it.
Yeah,
actually was that, and the characters are goofy and funny, and they're only secondary characters. But when you think of Friday the 13th Part 5. You think of the little kid in the movie, you think of Roy, and you think of those two people because they're so goofy and they're crazy and they're screaming and eating gross food, and she's chopping chickens' heads off and talking to them and slapping around stuff. It's like it's really cool and funny, but at the same time, it does not fit.
No,
it just doesn't fit at all. It was an interesting watch though. A very, very interesting watch.
Well, good. I'm glad you're on. I might have to jump on that train too. Like I did it. It was a long time ago. But like I said, I used to know them really well, and then I watch them. I'm like, man, I forgot a lot about these.
Yeah.
But it just got to the point where it did. Jason Takes Manhattan. took me to Manhattan and flushed me down a sewer or whatever the hell happened. It was terrible.
Right.
There's about 3 parts of that movie that I generally think are hilarious. I think they're fun, good parts, but the rest of it's just I can't. It just
3 more than me.
For me. Yeah, it ruined it for me, man. It did. It really ruined the whole franchise almost for me. But that's just me.
I couldn't believe how bad it was. I could not believe how bad that movie was. I couldn't believe how
terrible.
They just didn't try anymore. They just figured if you threw a rotting guy in a hockey mask on the screen, that's good enough, And no offense to Kane Hodder or nothing like that. It's got nothing to do with him. It's just got something to do with the writing, the directing, the whole idea of the thing. I mean, it's not. I'm sorry, but New York itself is. It's just not. It's not a setting for a Jason type character.
No,
It just did not work. I mean, there was nothing about that. That boat ride too, man. You thought that is. Well, I know, but that was you would think. In your mind, if someone was telling you, and then there's this yacht ride, or this boat ride, and Jason's on the boat killing him, that's not a bad idea. And they couldn't even execute that correctly.
No.
If you don't have, I think the problem is when they quit calling it Friday the 13th and started just making it Jason.
Yeah.
And they just they just tossed out the Camp Crystal Lake and all that. You tossed out half of what was creepy about it and what drew people to it. Yes. I think, personally.
Yeah.
And I think that really, honestly, the part 4 and 5 start doing that too.
Yeah.
And 6 brings it back a little bit.
It's so insulting, man. At one point it was one of them movies where I finally was looking, thinking pretend looking at my watch thinking, I thought this was called Jason Takes Manhattan. Mm-hmm. This movie's been it's an hour long. We're still not even near Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And then once the boat sinks or whatever, does he swim or does he walk on the bottom of the ocean or the ocean? Are they in the ocean or did they go up a creek? I don't know, man. You know what I mean? And then, I don't know. The only parts I said to him, I like when he punches the one guy's head off. The guy fights, boxes him for about 3 minutes, and then Jason punches him with one punch his head off. Mm-hmm. That made me laugh. And then there's one big guy that they throw. Jason comes in that diner, and they throw the big fry cook out there, and then you see the fry cook go flying.
Right.
And that's it. And I mean, that's not enough to revolve a movie around. For me. You know what I mean?
And see, you were waiting for him to get to Manhattan, and I thought that was, I did not want him to get there. I was just no, this is going to get worse because it was bad on the way there. I thought he was going to go through there and just start just destroying stuff. I didn't know it was just going to be. Mm-hmm. And he's following the same people around when there's all these people he could kill. Yeah.
But no, okay, Tim. The third part is when he punts those kids' jam box. He just walks by and punts it.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to do that, especially the music I hate. I've always wanted to do that, so right. I give him kudos for that.
Yeah, I can't. That movie, I don't know. It angered me. I tell you what, it angered me. Some of the later Halloween movies did too. They angered me too.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's almost like just don't do
Tim,
it.
I knew it was done. Tim, I knew it was over while I was watching that movie. I was like, this is, and it's happened to me with the Nightmare on Elm Street ones. There's been a few that I've been like, this is the end of this, and the end of me coming to these movies, and that was it, And then I'm like, you're gonna insult me and do Jason X in space, and I was totally done at that point.
Right.
Oh. Wow. Right. Okay. Well, that's it for me.
Yeah. Anyway, but Friday the 13th, New Beginning, though, it's maybe I'm getting a little soft on it in my older age because I didn't hate it as much, and maybe going and understanding what it is and what they were trying to do, and taking a little bit of, taking the hypocrisy out of the fact that I'm a Halloween 3 guy.
Yeah.
Too, and then looking at this and it's bad, and maybe because they didn't even try to imitate Michael Myers though.
No,
and they did try to imitate Jason in this one, so I thought maybe at the time that felt just a little too cheap.
Yeah, that it's just for me when because he gets killed at the end and his mask falls off and you can see the latex where he. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was laying there as a movie fan. I felt like I fell on spikes, man. It just didn't do it for me. You know what I mean? I know it might sound weird.
What was odd about that is where did he get the latex?
Yeah, right.
I thought it was Tommy Jarvis that was the latex mask maker guy.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
where did that skill set go in the sixth one? It didn't exist, So there's a lot of things there are a lot of inconsistencies. Yeah. The biggest inconsistency to me in Friday the 13th Part 5 isn't even that it's not Jason. It's the fact when they reveal who the killer is, you still can't recognize him.
Yeah, you're like, who is that?
Yeah, he's laying on his back with water in his face, and he looks like a dummy. It's like, and he probably is a dummy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know who that is. Oh, it's a big reveal. It's that guy.
Oh, it's the ambulance driver.
You couldn't. But I didn't even. You have to actually go to the next scene and hear them talk about who it is. To understand who you just saw. You don't know who you just saw.
No,
he doesn't. And Roy looked. I mean, he has a very unique look. He's got a Lou Ferrigno stunt double look to him.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
And so. And then you get to that scene, you're like, who is it? I can't even tell who it is, So it's a little frustrating to say the least. But anyway, oh well. So I really like The Unseen though. So I was really surprised that Danny Steinman did. I mean, who Danny Steinman was, and then make that connection, why I recognize the name. So
Well, you got that going for you.
Well, I tell you, it ain't easy being Timo. So, all right, let's get to this real quick, Mr. Ben High, because I know that there was something that was going to tie into something you wanted to talk about, too. Angio and I went back, and I think we were just talking a little Bigfoot stuff, and I happened to mention the 4 horsemen of the Sasquatch. Yes. Now, Rene DeHinden is the guy that we never remember because I think his name is odd, and he was a nutball, Rene DeHinden. Peter Byrne, John Green, and Grover Krantz. So we went and watched Sasquatch Odyssey, The Hunt for Bigfoot from 1999. That is the documentary that I've talked about before about these 4 guys.
Yeah.
And about why they don't get along and how the whole Bigfoot community is splintered off into different directions. And one of the things that I really like about this, and it reminded me watching this, was, they fought like little girls. They all did. They all had their ideas about it. But especially Peter Byrne, he was a British guy.
Yes, yeah.
He looked for this thing for 30 years. Do you know what he found? 2 prints.
2 prints. Yeah, he never saw one. Yeah.
And he lived his life searching for this thing.
Yes.
Those are the kind of researchers I want to go out in the woods with.
Yes.
I know people go, no, I want to go out in the woods with people that find stuff. No, you want to go out. You want to go with the imaginative people. I want to go out with the people that are really seriously looking for something real, not hearing a noise going. Did you hear that?
Oh, that's a squatch.
Did you hear that? Yeah. So that always blows me away. And then that Rene DeHinden guy is just off the hook.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's sitting. He will yell like this to you and get you out you stupid people want to death. Yeah. I wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
I asked Angie if I could have myself a Renee Hinden. Can I have a Renee Hinden? I just want to pull him out when people are around I don't like.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But it was a lot of fun to watch, to go back and watch. It is still up on Amazon Prime.
Think it was she get schooled a little? A
little bit. I think it. Really, the movie doesn't have a lot to do with Bigfoot. It has a lot to do with those researchers and about how they started. There was a Tom Slick guy from Texas. He kind of started the whole expedition thing.
Yeah,
and he
got
got
the money.
Yes, and he got these 4 guys together, and then they basically their egos got in the way, and they all went in different directions. I think it was John Green that actually said it best when he's like, "Look, when you're a Bigfoot researcher, you're stubborn by nature."
Yeah, right.
And so you're not going to get along real well with other guys that have their own set of ideas that are not yours.
Yes,
and he's right about that. Doesn't make him any less guilty of it, but at least he admits it, So, but no, I think it was interesting for her to see.
Did. And it was funny. They did they fought.
There's a funny scene where Grover Krantz is at some kind of conference. He's giving a talk on Sasquatch, and Rene DeHinden is sitting in the back just yelling shit after everything he says.
Yeah. They had to escort him out of there, didn't they, too? Or something?
I don't know. I hope not.
I forget. I think they had to,
But it was fun to watch. But you said that you saw something weird too now. Was this at the lake or what?
Yeah. We were up at the lake, and maybe Tim now. I don't want to say I was heavily influenced by vodka,
but you were.
But a little bit. Okay. Or that I had just been watching about 2 hours, maybe, or no, maybe not, maybe about an hour or so's worth of paranormal caught on tape. So I don't want to say that any of this influenced me. Now, Tim, which was much more intriguing to me after I went outside, we went out to have a fire. And this is the same spot, I've told you the story before, where I see a lot of shooting stars. Uh-huh. And Wendy and I were sitting in, our same fire pit area. And I was telling her like the story of I do see him, and sometimes I'll see him out, at the lake, way up in the night sky. Mm-hmm. And she was saying, "Oh, no, you
just have to look. They're always hitting.
Yes,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, no more than a few minutes later, one of the biggest ones I've ever seen in my life crossed right in our view. Uh-huh. And she even said, "You got to be kidding me!" And I was like, "See, I'm telling you, there it is, right there." Mm-hmm. Okay, so. We're sitting out there the other night, Tim, and I'm always watching the skies, right? Mm-hmm. So just having a fire, and I see now there's a tree this is the same tree that Sydney ran the golf cart into. Okay. It's right at the bottom of the hill, and then there's a couple of other sets of trees down, at the bottom of the hill, some up towards the top, but you can still see the night sky, you can see the lake, and you can see the distance off into the distance into the sky. I was just sitting there talking with Sydney and Wendy, and we were making marshmallows, and I saw like this up in the sky. You can still see a little bit of blue sky, but it was dark, but you can still see a little bit of the night sky, and this orange like orb, which I thought was just a plain light, uh-huh. flew in between the trees for about it's about a 50 feet difference, uh-huh. between the trees. And you can see, now it was also cloudy that night too, but not super cloudy because you can still see the sky, like I said. So it flew by and I didn't really say much. I was just kind of watched it. And then I was like, well, let's see, what was that? And I'm watching it go past the tree. I'm like, well, it has to go off into the distance. And I still was watching, and this thing just disappeared, right? Uh-huh. Never came out from the other side of the tree. And I just sat there, and I was still talking to them, and I just started thinking, and all of a sudden my brain started breaking this down, going, wait a second. First off, Tim, when you see a plane in the sky at night, what color are the lights?
I don't know. I'm colorblind, but they blink.
They
blink color.
Yes, they're blink
That's
color.
usually what I look for, blinking light. Yeah.
Yeah, well, God, now Tim was, what an eyewitness. God, I must have thrown my whole story out there. So usually you see you blinking like white or red. And they're, like you said, there's pulsating lights blinking.
Yep.
So
you have to really look when they're really high too, because you have to look for that blink. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. Well, that thing, first off, wasn't pulsating. It was orange. And it didn't make any sound. And I'm just thinking this in my head. So about 4 or 5 minutes later, I started talking to Wendy. I said, Wendy, I just saw something I can't stop thinking about. And I was like, there was just this orange like orb. And I just started to tell her the story, just like I'm telling you. And I shit you not, I look up and here it comes again. And it went into the same pattern and did the same thing again and then disappeared. I go, there it is. And by the time she looked, I said, see it? And she's like, no. And I said, well, here, let's look if it comes out on the other side of that tree. And now, no, it didn't. Uh-huh. And I'm thinking to myself, now I know it's not that cloudy out. It would be going in and out of the clouds if so. And plus, it would have going off into the distance. Now, Tim, I've watched enough stuff up at the lake. You don't see many commercial planes that fly there. And if they are way up in the sky, buddy.
Well, how high was this, do you think?
Tim, it looked... 500 feet off the ground, maybe. It wasn't real high, but it wasn't real low.
How big?
I mean, I would say a pumpkin size.
Okay.
It looked like a plane light. And that's why it didn't, at first, freak me out. But then I kept thinking more about it. So then it goes by again and disappears, the same pattern and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, it can't be. There was no sound. So about 5 minutes after that, a plane in the distance, which you see these small planes once in a while that fly by the lake. And you see that, and I was like, well, there's a plane right there, watch. And I said, look, it's blinking red and white. Mm-hmm. And here it comes. And it would go in and out and it was about the same height as this other plane. Like so but it was off in the distance. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, here it comes. And sure enough, it went in the clouds, disappeared for a second, came out of the clouds. I could start to hear it. It came at us, went in and out of the clouds, and then went over the top of us. Like, and I was like, so what was that thing I just saw? That had nothing to. It was not a plane, Tim. It was not a. I mean,
could have been a drone.
I don't know. That's the other thing I was thinking. But it had no sound whatsoever. And I know those drones are they're not super loud, but I hear them. Because they just fly them over at the park by us or by Julie.
I think some are pretty quiet. Some of it depends on which ones you have. They're pretty quiet. I'm just wondering.
Right.
That's something we don't think about. That's a newer thing.
I was like, it's a drone. Yeah. That's the same thing I thought too. Now, was that a drone? But I was like, even if it was a drone, unless it turned the light off as it went past me, I still would have seen it go off into the distance. You know what I mean? This thing just went in the past so where I could see it and then disappeared. And then, like I said, 5 minutes later, here it came again, the same path where I saw it. And it was moving pretty fast. It wasn't like it was hovering. It was going, you know. So I watched it for 3 to 5 seconds, maybe, 5 seconds. And Tim, I'm like that. When I see something and that doesn't explain, I want to see, well, okay, where does it go? What's it doing? And I don't know, but I have no explanation for what this was. I don't know if it was what it was. It was just a glowing red, or not red, orange ball, it looked like, or a light off a plane. The fact that it only went for a certain distance, I didn't hear it. It wasn't like any flashing light I've ever seen on a plane. It wasn't like anything I've seen before, like on a plane, but it looked similar to like, that's what I thought when it first went by. I was like, wow, that plane's kind of low and close, you know, there. And I couldn't hear it. Nothing. I don't know, Tim. It was very bizarre. It can be explained. I can't say it wasn't, but to me, I saw a UFO. You know why? Because I don't know what it was. I couldn't identify it, buddy. So,
well, that's like when I was in Alaska. I've told the story in the show. It's been a while, but just a cliff notes of it was I was standing out in our balcony. We took a cruise up the Inside Passage in Alaska, and I was standing on the balcony. I think I was smoking. I smoked cigarettes at the time, and Angie was in the room getting ready to go to dinner or do something. And I was looking toward the front of the ship. And so I was looking along the side of the ship. I'm on my balcony. And there was smokestacks up above. And I looked up at the smokestack, and I thought I saw what I thought was like a ash, like a burning, like if you have like a bonfire, you might have a big piece of ash that kind of pops up off the, and it kind of floats in an odd way down, right? Yeah. They don't fall. They kind of float around a little bit in a weird, eccentric way. I saw something white doing that. And so my first thought was it was like a dove or something in distress. And then I thought, well, maybe it's something that peeled off the side of the inside of the smokestack, causing an ash or something. But what it looked like was like almost like a magician's handkerchief. Kind of like floating in a very eccentric way toward me. But now we're moving forward. I'm looking at the front of the ship, so it could be sitting stationary, and it would look like it was coming toward me because we were moving forward. Sure. So I was just kind of looking at this thing. I didn't think a thing of it. And I remembered, and it was only 15 feet away from me. Yeah. I couldn't figure out what it was. I mean, I was still looking at it right on it, and I'm like, what is that? And it almost looked liquid in a way. It didn't look spooky or spaceshipy. It looked like a handkerchief or something. It was about the size of a hand towel or something. It looked like to me. And it was floating down in a very eccentric way. And I thought, well, it's not a bird that's hurt. It looks like an ash, but it's not burning. It's just like molten white, a plane like kind of floating down. And I remember telling Angie, I said, what is that? And when I said, what is that? It shot straight down into the water, made a splash.
It didn't float.
No, it made a splash, like it had weight to it. Yeah. And then a big thing of milk came up, like a milky substance came up. Yeah. Like, so if you see a bird dive in for a fish, the bird might be kind of going over the water, and all of a sudden, pew, it goes down. It was sort of like that, but the thing is that Angie saw it dive. She didn't see it floating like I did, but she did see something dive. I don't know. I don't remember if she saw the milky substance. I think she might have, though. I don't know what the hell that was. And I wouldn't have thought a thing of it had it not dove into the water, because to me, I would have just thought, it was someone's Kleenex or someone's handkerchief that they dropped, and it flew away, and it was just kind of floating in the wind. The strangest thing I ever saw, I don't know what the hell it was. I remember I asked like one person who was living up there, someone who was working somewhere. I said, "Hey, I got a weird question for you." And the look they gave me, I'm like, "Yeah, that's not okay." I don't know. I'm in a different part of the world.
Yeah, I didn't know if that.
The sun didn't go down while we were up there. I'm in a different part of the world. It could have been anything that I don't know about.
Right.
See, so if you think I'm crazy about Bigfoot or Ben's crazy, the first thing I thought of was I thought, what the hell was that? Like, I really wanted to know what was that. It didn't really dawn on me as something odd. Yeah. It was odd to me.
Yeah.
But it didn't dawn on me that maybe I saw something odd to anyone. Sure. I don't know what that was. So I definitely have sympathy or empathy for when you see something and you can't explain it. You don't know what you saw. You can't describe it physically.
Yeah.
It's impossible I can't describe what I saw physically. I will admit this to you. I have seen a couple of UFO shows where they show like the white things up in the sky dancing around. It sure looked a hell lot like that.
Wow. Yeah.
That's what it looked. I mean, but it was only one. The things I've seen have been like multiple things in the sky when I see a television program that has footage of UFOs. I have seen things, but they were always in like a bunch of them. What I saw was this one thing, and it was on the Inside Passage during a narrow strip of the Inside Passage. We weren't that far away from the shore.
Yeah.
There was nothing going on. There was no weather. There was nothing. It was just real calm, real quiet. But the way it was floating, and then the force at which it hit the water did not make any sense to me at all. Like it would be like if you had a paper napkin. That's what it kind of looked like, a folding and unfolding paper napkin floating around, a big one floating around in the sky, and all of a sudden it turns into Superman and shoots straight down. And I mean, this was not a normal speed either. No. This was like, I mean, it was like, wow, this was like a frog's tongue fast. Yeah. Okay, this was like unnatural. I don't know what it was. I've never seen anything dive into the water with a milky, pure white, milky substance floating up. And I kept looking down as we passed, and I never saw anything come back up.
It's crazy, too, like when you said, what is that? And then it went, pew.
That's really what happened. I said, like you did, I said, what the hell is that? You know, and I only focused on it because it was interesting and different. I was like, what's that? Yeah. You know? My first reaction was, this is ash coming off of the smokestack.
Yeah. Huh.
That's it. I mean, like there might be, my first thought as a whatever engineered student, whatever you want to call me, is that there must be some kind of film that gets on I thought this in a split second. Oh, there must be some kind of film that collects on the inside of a smokestack like a chimney that needs to be cleaned. I'm seeing a piece of that have broken off and flown off into the sky. That's what I thought I was seeing. Yeah. I never saw it come out of the smokestack. Don't get me wrong. I just saw it coming from that direction.
Sure.
So my immediate thought was that. So,
well, my thing is too, like, and I've seen people light off them lanterns at the lake and stuff, and I know how those float. This wasn't one of those. It just, and like I said, I only saw it for in between the trees, but it was only there briefly, and but then for it to return, do the same pattern and disappear the same way was just really weird. Like a couple, I don't know. It just, I can't explain it. So,
well, the thing is too is that I'm not saying what I saw was anything out of this world, and I don't think you're saying the same thing because it does sound a little suspicious. Like, well, it keeps doing the same thing. Maybe you're seeing something that's originating from the ground somehow.
Yeah, but I didn't see it for the rest of the night. That was it. I didn't see it for.
I'm not. Believe me, that doesn't mean I'm dismissing what you're saying. It's just I would like an answer. To what I saw. I'm never going to get one. Yeah. I know I'm never going to get an answer to that.
I might try to look into what if there's any type of something, like, because I don't know, Tim. It's still I mean, I'm still boggled by it.
Well, a lot of people, a lot of Bigfoot researchers talk about their orbs. Yeah, that they see. You saw an orb. I mean, and I think the point is, what are they?
Pattern too. It wasn't, and it was good size. And it wasn't like it was going up and down, floating around. It was in a straight pattern. That's why I was like, oh, it's like a plane. I'm like, oh, wait a second. The more I kept thinking about it, I was like, no. And I was watching for it and waiting for it. And I'm like, no. And that's when I finally turned to Wendy. I was like, I think I just saw something really weird. And I was trying to explain that. There it is again. Wait a second. I
did she? Forgive me for not catching this, but did she see it at all?
No.
Ever? She never saw it. And many times you saw it, she never saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gotta be frustrating for you.
Yep. So by the same time when it came back, I go, look, there it is. And by the time she looked, it was gone, and it had already gone. And I was like, well, let's see. Hoping it would come out on the other side, of the other side of the tree there, and it never did.
Well, I know what you're talking about too, because I'm really glad that Angie saw something.
Yeah,
I don't think she would believe me. I think she would be sympathetic to me because she loves me. But I think that she would be like, you just. Well, it's what we all do to each other. We all want to outsmart what was happening. We all want to say, "Oh, that was nothing." Well, how do we know? We don't know anything more than you do. Like what you saw. So I am glad she saw something, and what she saw was the amazing part. I wish she would have seen the unamazing part, because that's what was very curious to me. Like, what? Because this has only happened this one time that I can recall in my life that I focused in on something that was tangible in front of me, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't. Couldn't. What am I looking at? Like, I see something that has some sort of shape that's changing, but it constantly changed. It didn't stay one shape. It looked like a blob of something coming down. And that's why I say it looked like a napkin floating in the wind, because it's moving around. Or the first thing was a dove in distress.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it was kind of like it was twisting around and stuff, but there's no wings.
Right.
So I don't know. And so I'm giving you a sense of size. It wasn't big.
Yeah.
Either. This was, like you said, about close to what you were saying. You said what size of a pumpkin or something?
Yeah.
Like a basketball maybe, or something like that, I'd say this wasn't round what I saw, but we're talking the same ballpark as far as scope. Yeah. What I saw too. Yeah. That's very difficult to explain to people.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you saw, and it might be something very natural that we don't understand. And that's what I think I saw, by the way. I think I saw something natural that we don't understand. That's what I think I saw, at least, But anyway, very interesting stuff, Mr. Ben Harley. Not Bigfoot.
No, but interesting still.
Yeah, but just saying there are things out there we don't understand.
Yeah.
Or that we have not, quote, discovered technically yet. Things like that. So interesting. Let's get to our official little film, Mr. Ben Harley. I think the deep thinkers out there have thought deep enough about orbs and killer napkins flying in the sky.
Yes.
So let's get to our official
napkins. Yes.
Let's get to our official little film from 1940. We have the film Dr. Cyclops.
That's what I kept saying.
Let me get out movie guy.
Yeah.
And give you a short storyline synopsis here for Dr. Cyclops.
All right.
Here we go. Okay, then there's two different ones here. I'm gonna read both of these storyline synopses. Our movie guy, I should say, is gonna read both these. And the first one is gonna be okay, but then the second one I just find humorous, because some of these storyline synopsises are just like, okay. So the first one, okay, here we go. So first storyline synopsis, read by movie guy. Movie guy needs to get a job doing books on audio or audio. Yeah, books on audio. I think. Yeah.
Books on tape.
Yeah. I could probably make that happen. I guess. I'm not. Nobody's stopping it. So all right, here we go. Storyline synopsis number 1. Here we go. 4 explorers are summoned to Peru by the brilliant scientist Dr. Thorkel. They discover a rich source of radium and a half-mad Thorkel who shrinks them down to 1/5 their normal size when they threaten to stop his unorthodox experimentation. All right, now here's the one that I find a little more fun. Probably says about the same thing, but let's get movie guy back out here for a little second appearance, which he doesn't normally make on the show. So here we go. So second storyline synopsis for Dr. Cyclops, and I do like this one. All right, here we go.
Okay.
A mad scientist working in the South American jungle miniaturizes his colleagues when he feels his megalomania is threatened. You threaten my megalomania, I'm going to beat you up.
I'm going to shrink you every time.
Shrink your shit. Don't fuck with my megalomania.
I'm a
what
megalomaniac.
Kind of person are you to fuck around with my megalomania, damn it?
Yeah, man. Wow.
Okay, this Mr. Ben. Now, I thought we had reviewed this before, but you have confirmed, double secret confirmed, because Angio said she had not seen it, which I could have swore I watched it with Angio, and I could have swore that we reviewed this before, but apparently not.
No.
Okay, so Albert Decker, the character actor, the great character actor, Albert Decker. This is actually his signature role, believe it or not.
Okay.
Like, even in his obituary, this is the one they named a lot. But he's in like a lot of, I think he's even in the Wild Bunch and stuff like that. Yeah, so he's in westerns and what have you.
Yeah.
He's actually he was a big fella. He was like 6'2". So
he looked big.
Yeah, he's an imposing type guy. And it was directed by one Ernest B. Shadestack. You got to know who this guy is, right? You have to know who he is. Ernest B. Shadestack. He is a director of The Most Dangerous Game. He is the director of Son of Kong. He is a director of Mighty Joe Young, and he co-directed King Kong.
Ooh, really?
With the co-producer of this film also, Marion C. Cooper.
Wow, I'm looking at my Son of Kong 8mm right now.
Yeah, well, Marion Cooper was more of a producer. He produced The Searchers, The Quiet Man, Lost Patrol.
Lost Patrol, we did that.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Like that
Most Dangerous Game, did some directing too. So basically what we have is the people who made King Kong and The Most Dangerous Game. And Mighty Joe Young and Son of Kong and all that are here making Dr. Cyclops. And this
was making miniatures, didn't they, Tim?
Or giants, one of the two.
Yeah, giants, yeah.
They were size people, definitely.
Yeah.
Obsessed with size.
Yes.
I'm going to leave it there. First, this was the first science fiction film to be shot in the, I guess they call it 3-strip technicolor.
Okay. All right.
So that was the very early process of technicolor, which gives it its neat, old-fashioned, cartoony kind of color feel.
Yeah, it does.
Which I like.
A lot of high yellows and some other stuff. It's exactly. Weird. But it's okay. It's cool.
Right.
Someone's really good. Yeah.
So what happens here is Dr. Thorkel, played by Albert Decker here, he's going blind. And basically he gets these scientist people to hack their way all through the jungle just to confirm a sample he's got with a microscope. That's it.
He can't, Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
These people travel across the globe.
Like I say, 10,000. I traveled 10,000 miles for this.
To look at a microscope going, yep, that's it. Okay, you can leave now.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So they basically get annoyed and refuse to leave because no, I got here now. And then the scientist, the annoyed scientist guy, he finds like a little mini skeleton he thinks is a new species. Of course, that's telegraphing things are being shrunken. And then the rest of the group, they got their sights set on some valuable ore that Thorkel, I guess he's using it for his experiments. It's like a well, like a mine or a well that is not, there's no safety precautions. We'll get into that later. Well,
he puts on an iron helmet.
Yes, right. But if you don't want to fall in, just don't get near it, basically.
Yeah, don't get near it.
There's no handrail around the side of it, we'll put it that way. So, So that's where the story sets up. And then, when Thorkel feels his megalomania is being threatened because they won't leave, he gets pissed off because they won't leave.
Yeah.
So what else are you going to do? You shrink the fuckers.
You shrink them, yeah. Well, they showed up. They came in looking in his laboratory, and he thought, well, they're trying to steal my experiments or for themselves. But he pulls the old shuck and jive on him. Though he says, yeah, well, maybe you're right, and I am tired, and I have and maybe it's just all this has gotten to me, and then he ends up pushing him into his what was that thing he had?
I don't know. He had
just
this room that had his gear in there. When he locked them in and turned it on, he shrunk them all.
Yeah. Even his faithful. Well, he wasn't so faithful, I guess, at the time. His pal I would call him his henchman, but his helper, I guess.
His manservant.
Yes.
He had a manservant. I want a manservant too, but they won't let me have one. I don't know who they are. When I find out who they are, then you'll know why I don't have my own manservant.
Exactly, yeah.
They might be bankers, but I don't know.
Yeah,
so.
You got to get your own island first, too.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
So, they trick his the guys who works for him, one of his employees.
Yeah.
He tricks him out. Now, that guy I kept teasing Angio. Can you guess why? Now, after they shrink these people down, of course, they're basically wearing like togas. Okay?
Yeah.
But the servant guy, he was toga
resembled
challenged.
Ron Jeremy.
Thank you. And why would I make fun of Angio?
Because Ron Jeremy had a thing for Angio.
Planted a big old kiss on her right in the middle of a dance floor, too.
Yeah, I think he pushed me in the face to get past me to get to her. I was one of those, out of the way, fell up. Like, wait a second.
You got tangled up in his back hair and you didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Hedgehogged me.
Yeah, but I kept teasing her going, So, of course, what am I doing? You close your eyes. There's no more Ron Jeremy in this house. I'm ahead with Ron Jeremy. Me and Ron Jeremy are enemies from now on.
Yeah.
I don't think Ron Jeremy was used to kissing a girl and her running away in terror. And I don't know why Ron Jeremy wasn't used to it, but it didn't look like he was. So
no.
I don't think. Let's put it this way. I don't think Angie was one of the curious ones.
No. No.
Is that a really nice way of putting it?
Yes.
I don't think she was one of the
very.
curious ones.
Yeah.
But
he was togally challenged.
He was totally, he was showing his muscles.
He was the hairiest guy of the bunch, too, and they decided to put him in the smallest, toga. But old megalomaniac here, he wants to, after he shrinks them, he feels like they should be happy that they are now part of his experiment.
Of course.
That he wants to run, all these tests on, and they should, be proud.
Right.
To but they don't feel that way, do they, Tim?
No, they don't. They do not like being tiny. No.
No.
And it gets rough. Yeah, I mean, he wants to they certainly their friendship dissolves awful.
I like the old guy, the old scientist, the one that said I came 10,000 miles for this. He don't put up with none of his guff. Boy, no,
he doesn't.
Even when he's only what they say they're 13 inches tall or something.
Right,
I forget, was one of the. But
there's a little bit of scale issue. I mean, I was thinking about you. There were some moments where they looked like they were 16 inches tall and sometimes 6 inches tall.
Yes, they did. And that's the thing. I was like, I don't know, but I will say though, like the mixture of like the screen and them in the foreground, but then the actual screen of him, whatever. Actually, some of that looked really good. They did a pretty darn good job on.
I thought the visual effects were great. Actually,
yes,
I am. Yeah, considering the Incredible Shrinking Man came 17 years later.
Wow.
And this, that wasn't that much better than this at all. I don't.
No, and they didn't shy away from this at all. No, they really had a lot of interaction with him and them. You know what I mean? Like where you didn't want to really, you would think that they'd want them down by the, where they look to scale and he's in his spot. But no, they would mix a lot of that together with him too.
A lot of forced perspective. And
it looked great, for the most part. I mean, pretty believable.
Right.
They had one goofy looking, giant, King Kong hand type thing.
Yeah, but that was pretty good. I thought that was pretty bold. I liked when they had him in the shot and they actually matched the shot up with his fake hand.
With that hand,
I mean, you can see it, but I wonder how many people back then even paid attention to that as much as.
No, especially back then in that theater and stuff. I bet that really looked good. I mean, as far as wasn't so cleaned up, I guess, too.
Well, right. And I mean, so. I think the difference between the Incredible Shrinking Man and this, I think the Incredible Shrinking Man, they might have been sticklers a little bit more for keeping the size ratio the same.
Sure.
There were some issues where sometimes they looked like they were 6 inches tall and 13. Now, you can get away with that because they were growing again.
Yes.
So their size didn't stay the same. And maybe that part of that is what we were seeing. So maybe they were actually doing a better job than we even imagined. We just weren't considering the fact they were growing again. So that was very cool too. One thing about this though, and this happens a lot. This happens a lot in these movies. Characters in these movies clearly aren't poker players.
No.
So like the good guy doctor basically is talking to Albert Decker, Dr. Thorkel.
Yeah.
And Thorkel is like, I will do this and do this. And the doctor goes, oh, yeah, when I get big, I'm turning you into the police so you can go to jail forever. It's like, hey, Doc, maybe don't telegraph that until you're at least 4 foot tall.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you shouldn't Maybe you shouldn't telegraph everything you're going to get to give the villain more motive.
He kept telling, when I get bigger, there's going to be hell to pay.
Yeah. Well, how do we avoid that? Do not allow him to get bigger. How about that?
Exactly.
Yes.
So, he offed him too, man.
That's the thing too. Dr. Cyclops is pretty nasty. I mean, he's a mean son of a bitch. I mean, he's and he kills these guys. Yeah.
The more that they try to fight him or do things, behind his back, the more upset he gets. The more which I like. Because all right, Tim, he's a mad scientist already. We know this, okay?
Yeah.
We know but he got slightly more mad as it went along, like actually pissed off. And I liked that. I thought it was good. Right. And then they steal his glasses. Oh boy.
Well, that's good too, because see the going blind thing, like his vision impairment is a nice little plot device. It's used very, very well. I mean, you can it's telegraphed completely the whole movie. But I thought what was great was that everyone's pretty smart in this movie. That's what I like too. There's not a lot of dumb things that have. There's a couple of dumb things. I mean, actually, the scientist's the dummy. When I get big, I'm gonna. Right. Dead. Yeah. So he buries his head in a blanket full of chloroform and takes care of him. So. But I was actually surprised. I'm like, oh, he just murdered him on screen. Like, you don't often see in a movie in 1940 where a character gets liquidated, close up on screen. Yeah. So talk about the guys who made the Most Dangerous Game in King Kong. This has the brutality of the Most Dangerous Game and the camera trick part of King Kong. There's no stop motion or nothing, but they're definitely, like you said, they're working with size and stuff. Yeah, there's a cat, there's the dog, there's an alligator at one point that they and that they have to tend with, which I thought was really good. It's not a bad scene, like you're saying though, because it is fairly realistic. Yeah. Like what they're doing. I mean, and you kind of wonder, it's like, this was made in 1940. There was movies made 30 years later that weren't this convincing. No, exactly. You remember Yeti, the giant 21st century? Do I have to? Yeah, at least remember his nipple. But I'm just... Yeah, man. You go to that kind of movie, you go to this, and you're like, wow. Well, yikes! Yes. So it's like watching Jurassic Park and watching the Yeti from the 20s. Right. So you're right, and he does the cat and mouse. No bad metaphors intended, but the cat and mouse game that go back and forth between Decker and the shrunken people is great. Yeah. I mean, it's just absolutely great, and they set up booby traps for him that don't even work. They set up like the shotgun point toward his pillow. I'm like, oh, do it. Yeah. And then what I was gonna say too is like, the smartness is like when they take his glasses. The funny thing is they don't take his regular glasses. They take his backup glasses he has hidden. Yes. Yep. Then they smash his other glasses and stuff. Yeah, and he only has one eye. Yes. Right. One good eye, I mean. Right. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Thorkel has a very avoidable demise. Yeah. When he that's what I'm talking about, the handrail. There's no handrail around the well that goes down to the ore or whatever, because there's like this rickety board going across the center of it. Yeah. And the shrunken people are like running away from him, and they're like, they go down, kind of climb down this well, and he takes the most dangerous route to catch them he could. He climbs on the rickety board and starts bouncing around on it. And he's only got one good eye at this point, too, Tim. Right? Yeah. Right. So, he kind of deserved what he got there a little bit. Yeah. So, oh man, I tell you, there's a couple of really good scenes too, like where they're about to get out of the lagoon. Timo, see, I brought that back. You got the lagoon. Yep. Yeah. So they were about to get out of the lagoon. They had a boat that they were going to launch. And he shows up and busts everything up, where first the dog shows up where they hide in the brush. And two things he does really ruthless. He shoots his manservant, who's still only about, 13 inches tall at the time, I guess. Yeah, he shoots Ron Jeremy. He shoots Ron Jeremy with a shotgun, so he must have aimed for the Jimmy. Right.
from about 15 feet away, there wouldn't have been nothing left.
Right.
Said man.
If he would have hit him, if he would have hit him, there would have been nothing left.
Nothing left. It would have been exploded.
Good shot for a blind guy to hit a little tiny person with a shotgun, but not a sawed-off shotgun, mind you.
No.
Right.
So, but then he sets ablaze like the grass that they were hiding in, like the tall grass. And actually, that's a really good effective scene, I think, too. It's like really intense. He's sitting there trying to wait for them to come out, and they hide in his little box or whatever, his little suitcase, his man box, or whatever. I don't know what the hell.
Right.
But yeah, I liked that scene. I just thought it was like intense, man, because he sets it to blaze, man. He don't care, it's really going to there for a minute, man. There's a serious fire cooking,
Absolutely. I think this movie it holds up and it's good because first of all, let's just be honest here. The characters, the heroes of the story, whatever, are bland cardboard cutouts. You don't care about all. But Albert Decker as Dr. Thorkel is fucking great in this. I mean, he is great. I mean, he is imposing. He's smarmy. He's mean. Yep. He even has a little pathos. You see him grabbing the bridge of his nose a lot. You can tell he's trying to keep it together. He's trying not to go down that road, but it's almost like fate just keeps pushing him into madness, keeps pushing him more and more. And you almost want him to snap out of it in a way.
Yeah. And he never does. You think he plays that one part where he plays a sympathetic, oh, you're right type, right before he shrinks him. Right. It's actually it's very convincing, And I'm like, don't trust that guy. I kept saying, don't trust that guy. Don't do it.
Right.
I know something's up.
Right. I mean, this is just a very enjoyable film. And it's another one of these. I love reviewing these old movies because as much as we like reviewing, let's say the classic 80s movies that a lot of people we know grew up with and
like
stuff.
Congo.
Yeah. I grew up with this kind of stuff, though, too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying it's just me, but sometimes I feel like were other kids not watching these old black and white movies? Were they just watching the newer movies?
I think a lot of them kind of were, but there were still, and I had a number of friends too that still did enjoy some of these older ones. And some of them, I had friends that even enjoyed the ones that weren't so scary, like like you're talking about the Maltese Falcon and stuff like that. And so it was fun as a kid to be able to talk to some people about it because it wasn't like that. I thought I was weird at times too. I'm sitting at home watching a black and white movie, on a Saturday morning, but I would be so engrossed into it too.
Right. When I was like 6 to 8 years old, I think I've said this on the show before too. We had a Books on Wheels truck that would come to our grade school, and it's like a mobile library basically.
Yep.
That was
you'd have your class would get a certain time period to be down there. Yep.
And you can go. And so the Books on Wheels thing had a couple, just like 2 or 3 books. That dealt with the history of like Universal horror films and things like that. Yeah. So I actually saw things like Dr. Cyclops in stills and read about them. Yeah. And I never saw it. And that's how I really got fascinated and hooked on like King Kong. The big one for me was Freaks. That was the one I always really wanted to see. And I'm talking to a 6 or 7 year old. Yeah. I really wanted to see that. Dr. Cyclops was another one. And I didn't get to see Dr. Cyclops until I was in my teens, probably, if not maybe my early 20s, because it just wasn't really available. And the thing is like growing up, okay, so a child of the 80s also lived in the culture of the 80s, where these movies were pretty taboo as far as like the Nightmare on Elm Streets and Friday the 13th and things like that. And most of our parents were towing the line, and most of our parents, we'd have to sneak to these movies or things like that. Yeah. So it's hard to see them. However, no parent gave a crap what you looked at if you turned the TV on because they trusted everything was, quote, edited for television.
Sure.
So they trusted that there was a filter before it got to you. Of course, those days are long gone. But on some level, they were right. And there was nothing technically objectionable in these movies. But when you go back and look at it, and when you see Fay Ray fall into the water in King Kong as an adult, you're like, oh, that certainly ain't objectable to me.
Right, yeah.
Or the Tarzan the Ape Man has the same types of scenes too and stuff. But I think that I was exposed to these movies and they were what I had. They're all I had. Some of the movies I really wanted to see. Some of those movies as a child, I was a little disappointed that they didn't go further. And I started realizing, I think the reason that people our age were more into the newer movies is because those movies didn't have the same limits that the older ones did. As I'm older now, going back, I appreciate what these movies did with those limits.
Yes. Me too.
More so than I did then.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I reached the point too, Tim. It's just, and it happened to me a long time ago where I reached the limit. Like, okay, I've seen enough. Mm-hmm. I don't really need that much in these movies for me to, and it'll go all the way back to this just sounds so awful and horrible. The girl that got the hatchet in the face in Friday the 13th. For me, that was almost the point where like, okay, I've seen it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't really need to see that in every movie. I don't need to see, it just, I'd seen it. You know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't, after that point, I never really,
Well, right.
Where's another not Texas Chainsaw, Toxic Avenger, the first one.
Right.
There's plenty enough in that movie right there. I don't need to see much more than that. Right. I really don't care for, and I like that movie. That's one of my favorite movies.
It's a good movie. It is a good movie. It's a fun movie.
One.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, but I'm cool. And I appreciate, these older ones because sometimes less is more. It really is, and it just, you don't need all that all the time to put forth such a good movie and build tension and stuff like that. Now, you're not trying to build any tension in the Toxic Avenger. You know what I mean? You're not. You know what I mean? So I get it. You know what I mean?
My main point has more to do with, I think that some of these movies became neglected because since they didn't have those things, they were dismissed by people.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more going on there than you realize, or that maybe you give these movies credit for. I mean, go back to the Black Cat and stuff. They're pretty sicko movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And just because they're not like showing you things in the same way doesn't mean the same things aren't happening. You just have to keep your eyes open a little bit more.
Well, and you and I both go in there with really good, I think, attitudes, and we've both talked about you have to put yourself in that time period too.
Right.
And if you do,
we weren't around, so it's hard. Yeah.
No, but still, if you think about wow, that back then is pretty like you said, taboo and racy, or so.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think Dr. Cyclops was a very violent movie for its time.
Man, he was. He was. What a dickhead.
Right. Well, I think The Most Dangerous Game was a violent film for its time.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I'm sorry, but
that whole
Joel McCrea cracking that dude's back over his knee. I'm like, what the fuck, man? First of all, that's kind of the opposite. I thought the British guy was going to crack somebody, with his knee. Yeah. But you just don't expect them when they happen. You're like, holy crap, But I do think that they were, what I mean kind of is like, have you seen Dr. Cyclops? Like, well, no, that's not Hills Have Eyes. It's like, well, no, it's not. And the Hills Have Eyes isn't Halloween. And Halloween isn't this. But there's something to these movies that needs to be held on to, I think.
Yes.
I mean, you got to remember these movies that were made in the 80s and stuff. What did those people watch when they were kids?
Right.
This is where this stuff came from.
Yes.
Everything we have in horror and stuff comes from these. We owe these films memory. We owe them a debt of gratitude. We owe them a lot because without them, we wouldn't have what we have today. Mm-hmm. I think the filmmakers from the 80s and all that, I think they always did a good job, but we're losing them too.
Oh, big time, man. We're losing all.
Right.
And I just don't understand. There's not a lot. I shouldn't say that, Tim, because I think there are some great storytellers out there. We might still find the greatest storyteller of all time.
Well,
still hasn't been born yet, but we don't. We're just not getting like it used to be. It's just, and I don't want to be I sound like I'm waving my cane too much, but yet I just don't feel like. I like to be told a story too, Tim. I want to be engrossed in these movies, and we just talked about it last week with Excalibur and stuff like that. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with King Arthur, first off, or mythology or anything like that, which a lot of things are still based on mythology. It is. It still is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we're just not getting these good stories.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's called Dr. Cyclops. They actually talk about the story of the Cyclops in this movie, I mean, so you're right. I mean, right there is evidence of what you are saying.
Yeah.
Right there. My thing is that I feel like our mission here is to, before you dismiss these movies,
Yeah.
Look, I'm a guy who's got no problem watching Serbian film. It's not there's nothing. I'm not a fuddy-duddy. I'm not like a, what do you call it, a Betsy Wetsy schoolgirl?
Girl, yeah.
I'm not.
Mandy Pandy Wuss girl, too. Yeah.
I don't cringe at things that are supposed to push your buttons.
Yeah.
I don't. I think sometimes they're done just to do it, and I find that a little boring.
That's what I do, too. And I'm just like, I'm like, okay, whatever. It is what it,
right.
Like, you get... Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not that I'm a prude about it. It's the fact that I'm like, wait, these movies deserve our attention and deserve people watching them still. And they still do. They still do. But I'm happy to be part of the culture that keeps these movies going and alive and talked about and stuff. That's what I mean. Yeah. And we're not just us doing it, but I'm proud to be part of that. And this is definitely, Dr. Cyclops to me is definitely one that I would highly recommend people seek out. Yeah. Look, Amazon Prime plays these types of movies all the time. Just go on Amazon Prime and start watching some of these old flicks and take a journey. Find these movies. There are some things in that will shock you, you know, if you haven't before. And it seems redundant us talking about this, but I'm on a Hammer Films Facebook page. I have unfollowed everyone on my Facebook page that has posted about politics. So I basically see things about Jaws and Hammer Films. That's it.
Good.
I don't have I don't even see my own post anymore. It's like, there's nothing. I don't see anything anymore. It's like, because everybody's like so fired up about stuff. But I did see a post on it wasn't that, but it was some kind of like Universal Films or some kind of horror group where a young lady said, "What is a Hammer film?" Okay. Now, I saw people like ridiculing her for asking the question. God, You're like, well, duh. It's like, you know what? And some nice person actually put a Wikipedia page saying from this year to this year, this company in Britain put out all these movies. Yes. And it says Hammer in the beginning. That was the name of the company. Productions. Yeah. Yes. And that's all this young lady was looking for.
Needed to know. That's all. Yeah.
Now, in fairness, you could find that out without asking a group.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's that too.
You could have searched it. Yeah.
There's that too. But it is what it is. Yeah. That young lady is someone who we're talking to.
Yeah.
And I had people teach me this stuff, or at least I watched a documentary, read a book on my mobile library, and did things when I was very little and educated myself in these things. It's part of our culture. It's part of our history. That's part of our history that I love very, very much. Encapsulated in that is our real history through the prism of art. And I think that it is our little time capsules of what was cool, what was not, what was in the public consciousness, what wasn't, what was okay, what was in bad taste and what was not in bad taste.
Right.
And you see it and you understand how we've evolved and maybe how we need to more.
Oh, yeah.
And how we need to more in some ways, too. So I just find this all encapsulated into films. Other people do it with books, television programs, and things like that. They're all valid. And stuff. Yeah. But Dr. Cyclops, to me, is one of these movies that makes me think of these things and talk about them because, to me, it's so good. Such a good movie. Yeah, it's a very good movie. So that being said, Dr. Cyclops gets a great babe up to the rafters from this kid who doesn't do that very often.
No, no, you don't, sir. I'm definitely going to give it a great babe up too, Tim. It's a very, very good movie. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Dr. Cyclops. He's great. Jerky McJerkington. Yeah.
Great.
Albert and Duck played it well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, plays it great.
Duck was great. Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely sense the King Kong and Most Dangerous Game, like kind of that feel to it is behind this too. As a matter of fact, I think one of the first guys that's talking to the scientist is actually the boat captain in King Kong. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I actually recognize him. Like, I know that guy. So I looked him up. Like, damn it, I knew it. He's a boat captain guy.
Nice. So. Yeah. Well, no, I wish the one thing, like I said, if anything that I think the movie needed a little bit more of, maybe a little more fun with a bit more of the jungle stuff. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. I was all right. I mean, I think they did enough, Right. But I think that's the only thing I could think that would have made it any better. But who knows? Maybe it wouldn't have. So, but yeah, definitely a great babe up from me too.
Excellent. All right. Well, Harley, I don't know what we're doing next week. but
riveting.
It's going to have a size problem.
It might. Scale, size.
The odds of it be having a problem with scale are high. They're very high.
Yeah.
So,
that's right.
But until next week, all you deep thinkers, stay safe and be good to each other and stay spooky. And we'll talk to you then.
Keep it creepy, people.
You've been listening to the Timo and Harley Show, brought to you by ScreenPrintingFactory.com, your affordable one-stop solution to all your screen printing needs.